What's up, boys and girls? I'm just going to do a quick unboxing here. Just want to give a shout out to the silver community and a reminder to please like, rate, and subscribe. The more we like, rate, and subscribe, it's good for my personal algorithm. By the way, coming soon, I'm going to do an entire stack video. It took me the entire weekend to do it. Okay guys, these are silver Britannias from the Royal Mint. You know what, I'm not going to open these because I want to just keep them with the original tape. But I will show you this. Basically, it's going to have, on this, it's going to have the Britannia on one side. And so I don't keep all of my coins at home. I don't keep all of my silver bullion at home. I keep a lot of it off-site. My uncle, actually a relative of mine, my uncle, he has a, long story short, he's ex-military, so he has he has almost like a compound, and he has a security company now. But anyways, long story short is I keep all of my precious metals there. He's got like a huge vault safe. So I just keep it all there. So I didn't have any Britannias here to show you guys. So right here, it's probably gonna have the mug shot of this lady on one side. That's how the Britannias look. And you can look at my old videos. I actually had an SS Garasapo from, I think it might've been from SD Bullion as well. It was a shipwreck silver, and it was minted into a Britannia 1/4 ounce Britannia. But this is right here. You'll have the Britannia. She's basically a symbol of Britain. So you have her on one side, and then on the other side you got this mug shot of the Queen, and she is the royal family, and all the Australia and Canadian. You'll have the royal family unboxing. So I got this for $408, which I think is like 16 bucks a coin, because you get 25 in a roll. When you order in 25 amounts, you get it in this cool roll. So but just to show you guys what it would look like is basically it would have the Queen on one side and then Britannia on the other. This is actually a 10 ounce from the Royal Mint as well, which is the official mint of Great Britain. And I do dig what Great Britain puts out. I'm the biggest fan of American Silver Eagles, followed by anything Canadian. But here, just to show you guys something different. Here's a Philharmonic. But anyways, guys, yeah, I just wanted to say that. And I also wanted to mention that you guys should always diversify not only your silver and precious metals, but you should diversify with stocks, bonds, emerging markets. I've been following this guy, Ray Dalio, for a while, and he's a big gold buff, but he also is a hedge fund manager, the biggest hedge fund manager of Bridgewater. And he says, you should have gold, you should have different positions in different asset classes, US stocks, and even among US stocks, you should have growth and value stocks. You should have, some that are smaller cap, which would be like smaller companies, and you should have a lot of large caps, which would be like Amazons and stuff like that. But he also is big on bonds, because bonds tend to do well when stocks don't. So it's a good unrelated correlation there. And you want to also have gold and silver and precious metals, commodities, cash. Just to give you guys an example, I was just taking some notes earlier. This would be an example of a portfolio, and this is Ray Dalio's portfolio. I've been kind of following, has something like this. He's got gold about 10%. Sorry, I put Bitcoin, but that's kind of what I'm doing, is 1% of my portfolio. Most of my portfolio is in real estate. I have about 80% of my portfolio in real estate, so I don't even bother putting it in here, but that's a business to me. I manage rental properties, multifamily especially, but this is right here what most of what from my notes Ray Dalio does. And if you guys don't know who he is, he's like a billionaire, and he's the biggest hedge fund manager ever, and he only takes like, I think the minimum contribution to get into his fund is 100 million, but this is something like what he does. He's big on emerging markets like China, because in the long run, China is going to do well because their growth is going to outpace the growth of the US. Not like I'm knocking the US, but the US stocks are already very developed, and the emerging markets are the ones that will have more growth, but they also have a lot more risk. So US stocks would be like gold, emerging markets would be more like silver. But what I'm trying to tell you guys, and I was going to mention this earlier, is that don't just diversify among silver and precious metals, gold versus silver, and then you can do different countries, diversify against geographic locations, but you do that with your stocks, like you do different geographic locations with stocks and bonds and stuff. And this is kind of like a long term, over 5 years, I think China's going to do well. US probably going to have some sort of recession, but China could too. But I think over 10 years, this is a good portfolio to have. I have about 5% of maybe 10% of this asset allocation in gold and silver, and I think silver will outperform gold in the long run. In the short run, silver is kind of underperforming, but that's why there's like a 90-to-1 ratio of value for silver to gold. It'll take 90 ounces of silver to equal 1 ounce of gold. So I think you should hold gold and you should hold silver, both, but definitely take a look at silver as a asset class to invest in, because I think it's highly undervalued. And it also it's used in industry like recycling. It's being recycled for solar panels, and it's being used up actually in a lot of industrial uses like medical. So silver is kind of like this weird commodity and money play, and it's a store of wealth too. But gold is always looked at as a store of wealth and a hedge against financial risks and stuff. So I would definitely hold a good amount in gold. But I do want to just kind of caution everybody that you should not just be holding gold and silver. You should hold other things in your portfolio. And even if you're 25% or 30% gold, or even 50% gold, I would hold some stocks. And the least volatile stocks are actually the S&P 500, even though that's going up and down like crazy. Maybe wait a little while before you get heavy in stocks, and bonds tend to perform decently, and they perform well when the market tanks. So when the stock market tanks. So anyways, guys, I'm just some thoughts. I've been studying this guy Ray Dalio for a while, and he's very hyper logical, and he really thinks and analyzes stuff through.